Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of TA Tech Unboxed, the podcast that's chatting to the people behind the tools that we in the HR and talent communities are using every day. If you're listening to this right now, don't forget to head over to YouTube where you'll be able to see a demo of all of our guests and their platforms, and of course a host of other interviews with their leaders, their fearless leaders. I am Chris Haslam. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Darren Bush. Mr. Darren Bush, how are you?
Chris, yeah, they're doing well. Lots of stuff going on at the moment, as most people.
Nice. Planning for hollybobs as well, are you not?
Planning for holiday, yeah. Trying to, the last day before we go on holiday, it is crazy
Chaos.
busy. It has been crazy busy. The day is finished for me on that part, but it was crazy.
Well, good luck.
Thanks, thank you. And you going on holiday at all?
No. No, I'm staying put, and I'm going to be posting about TA Tech Unboxed while you're away. That's my job. I'm here to hold the fort.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
And who do we have on today's show, Darren?
So today, Chris, we've got Masoud Ardestani, CEO and co-founder of Rapha. Welcome to the show, Masoud.
Thank you so much, Chris, Darren. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And before we start, Chris will have a go at me. If we don't, but we have to. We have a timer in the background, and we want to be incorporating this a little bit more in our show. So, Chris, if you want to flash that up, or tell us what you got there.
So we're now starting to time our shows so that you guys don't have to sit and listen to me talk for 2 hours. So we're going to hit this, and we're going to start the show. So, Masoud, we start every show with timing. We're on 29 minutes.
Yep.
We start every show with just asking our guests to intro themselves a little bit and also tell us a little bit about you and your background. So do you want to fire into that, and then we'll go into Rafa?
Sounds good. Happy to kick things off real quick. So I'm Masoud, of course. I've been building products for the last, 13, 14 years. Most recently, I was a design lead at Meta on the Messenger team. Was there for like a year and some change. And beyond that, I've done started startups, gone through YC and supporting YC companies as well when they were going through their startup journey as an advisor and designer. But one unique insight that kind of pertains to what we're doing here at Rafa is, in order to fund my crazy ambitious ideas on the side, I was actually a full cycle recruiter for 8 years. And so I was doing agency life, contingency, in-house, starting my own solo boutique firm. And I quickly realized that recruiting is a make or break moment for any company, any startup. So that's kind of like what pertains to what we're doing here at Rafa. And I'm happy to segue over to that in a second.
Exciting. An interesting, super interesting background, right? Like you started off with a dream, got into recruiting to facilitate that dream. You are the one and only. Just quickly, give us a little, before we jump into Rafa, give us a little bit, your view of startups. It seems like you've been in around scaling your own company, startups, YC for a bit. Give us a little bit of kind of your view on what startup hiring's, about.
Yeah, I think it comes back to culture. I think culture and really nailing that down is critical for a startup. And I also will say it's critical for even Fortune 500 companies, kind of like where Darren's at right now, because if you don't get that right, I think the focus will start to deteriorate, and we'll be focusing on the wrong elements, especially at a startup that is trying to get to product market fit. That's the promised land. That's what every startup is going for. And you need individuals, especially for YC folks and people who are just graduating accelerators or Series A and B. You're realizing that, finding that right individual will allow you to not only increase runway, but also increase your odds of getting to product market fit. So those first critical hires is a make or break moment. So that's what I've been seeing for my company, for startups I advised for when I was part of startups and things like that. If you don't get those right, finding out what's good and bad in that process, in that interviewing process, is very, very expensive. So got to get that right.
Any numbers you can put to that? That's not me, that's froze.
Sorry.
You may need to repeat that question, Chris. Both Masoud and I didn't actually hear
it.
Apologies. Can you put a number to not getting hiring right?
Oh, a number of like in terms of a dollar amount of like how expensive it is?
To not get it right per hire.
I think he means the dollar amount.
Oh,
we didn't hear you, Chris, the answer.
Am I breaking up that badly?
Yeah. We made stopping a lot, that's why, yeah.
That's okay. I think I was able to fill in the gaps.
Yeah,
I was able to fill in the gaps a little bit. But
okay.
in terms of dollar amount,
yeah,
I think the dollar amount is well above 5, 6, 7 figures, depending on the scale of the company. And, you have to take into account from an enterprise company, how many people are involved in the process, from the sourcer, the recruiter, the RC, the recruiting manager, the technical lead, the hiring manager, and the rest of the panel. That panel or that process is well above, the 5, 6 figures, depending on if you're enterprise. And of course, you need to take account to their salaries and stuff like that. And as for startups, I would actually, even though the dollar amount might be a little bit lower, the scale is the same thing. The actual hardship and outcome, if you get it wrong, the gravity is still the same, when comparing to startup and enterprise. And so startup founders often get between 50K to 150K, right? Especially in the pre-seed, seed plus. And getting that wrong in terms of that process is, if not equivalent to what enterprise go through when they get it wrong.
You've obviously seen some good stories, and
I
take it, and also some bad stories as well. Is that one of that's the key driver for this? I mean, did you notice something maybe in the interview process or when people are applying where you could identify the good and the weak candidates?
So I'm gonna take a quick 30 seconds and give you a little bit more story on the origin story almost. So when I closed my first company, it was a college carpooling app. I thought to myself, Darren, I racked up some good experience. I had it going for 4 years, raised a little bit of money, grew the team to 10. And I thought to myself, all right, I have to enter the job market. I applied and I quickly started getting those no reply, reject emails. And I thought to myself, man, if only they can hear my story and how I got to where I am today. So 6 years ago, I actually built one of the first audio resume tools where you're able to highlight key areas in your resume, where you can dive into why you're a good fit, relevancy on their background, why you took a year off, etc. I launched that shortly after, and we had applicants from Japan, Chile, Australia, Mexico, all around the world being able to tell their story. And people were loving it. That's one thing I've learned, that people love talking about themselves. But unfortunately, when people started applying to these ATSs, their stories and their authenticity got lost into the matrix. So I quickly realized that, fast forward to today, that this is not a B2C play. This is B2B. We need to start at the foundation level to allow people to capture those origin stories and be able to get a 3D blueprint of who this person is. And oftentimes, whether for the good or bad, applicants want a fair shot and they want to be heard. And I usually put myself in the applicant's shoes as well as a hiring manager, because that's where I'm at right now. And so being able to listen to people's emotions, passions, their critical thinking, the technical reasoning, everything, and actually going above the resume and the LinkedIn's, allows you to really get that bigger picture of who this person is, to do two things now as a hiring manager. You can now redefine what the first call means and kind of pick up where they left off. Or what we've been seeing is they're skipping the first call and consolidating steps to accelerate the process.
So that was Cezanne, was it? That company that you started? Yeah. Because I was saying you obviously identify there's a problem, the pain point there, and you've now kind of taken it to the B2B market. Your pain point then is the resume. The resume is just like a 1, 2 page, 3 page word document. Just can't, you struggle. How can differentiate yourself? And if you can voice and tell the story, you can add another several layers on top, which then, helps you then kind of get you into, like you said, in terms of the screening or get into, go into interview first.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
What other pain points have you noticed as well during the hiring process when you
Yeah.
started building the product?
Yeah, so what we're really tackling is what we think is the industry's boogeyman, and that's been qualifying. And I'm kind of like piggybacking what I just mentioned. Right now, hiring managers, founders, recruiters, agencies are going off of surface materials, the LinkedIn and the resumes. And with those two, they trust their best judgment, do a coin flip, do a nice drum roll, and really hope for the best. But what you see is not what you always get, right? On the other side, applicants, as I mentioned, are struggling right now, trying to separate themselves in this job market. People have gone to the same schools, same resume templates, same workplaces. But what makes them unique is their origin story and how they got to where they are today. And so it's almost as unique as your fingerprint, right? And so what we've seen is we're like the qualifying stage is the make or break moment because it's the catalyst to how your rest of the process is going to go. Oftentimes, right now, when you find someone good on paper, you have a phone screen. You need to wait about 1 week to get in touch with the hiring manager. Hiring manager finally hops on a call and just to realize in 10 seconds it's not a good fit and you rinse and repeat. And so we're actually bringing in the founder, the hiring manager, the people that they're actually going to be working with directly at step one. So we're starting to see whether it's good or bad, as I mentioned, people are saving time. And we think that we're the best ATS that is good at giving time back to not only the applicant, but most importantly, the hiring teams as well that are investing so much into these processes. So we're really bridging the gap to both sides.
Interesting. And I've had a play as well when we had a little
Yeah.
pre-demo with Masoud. You've got a really interesting kind of couple of ways that you are implementing some of the things we've been talking about. Do you want to tell us, like, I know you talked a little bit about Rapha and your founding moment. Do you want to give us a little, like, what is Rapha?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to ask Darren's question today. Where does it start and where does it end?
Great question. So the quick snapshot is like it's a two-sided ATS. So typically a startup, seed stage, Series A plus, B is using our product for the very first time. They create their jobs, job role, titles, all that good stuff, all the nitty gritty, comp, benefits, don't need to rebuild the wheel there. But what's unique is then you get to the audio question and the question bank. Now, this is your opportunity, whether it's Darren, Chris, your clients or hiring manager, is now able to ask those burning questions up front. So what we've been seeing is we've seen people ask, what are the pros and cons of using GraphQL? Or one question that I thought was pretty cool is, say our servers go down on Sunday night, what would you do? And then all of a sudden you're starting to get answers to the questions that matter most to the hiring team. And the resume doesn't become as relevant anymore in our world because resumes, we never just hire off of resumes. We need to get to know someone. We need to understand who this person is. So when they go through the entire process, they submit their job, they can invite all the cooks in the kitchen that need to be part of the process. So the hiring manager, technical lead, or whoever, you post their job, and then applicants, when they go through the process, they're now able to, in the comfort of their own home, speak directly to the hiring team. They can record, re-record, really perfect it as if you would want to do that in any type of interviewing case. And then from there, they get a confirmation. And then now all of a sudden, on the hiring team side, they're building consensus at step one. The tech lead knows who this person is. The hiring manager knows who this person is. And I know you guys are well aware of the greenhouse notes and the lever notes and stuff like that. Notes in general can only get you so far. But being able to have that applicant's source of truth, their narrative, and building around that is able to not only save days, weeks, probably could save you months of the process. So that's kind of the journey when it comes to the applicant, how they discover it, as well as the hiring teams of how they're utilizing it.
Love it.
I had a question just around
Yeah.
the advent of ChatGPT. People, whenever we speak to obviously companies in this space, their concern is candidates are they're gonna come off a script, or they're gonna write off a script. How'd you get around that problem, or you're not seeing that yet, or
Yeah.
good to understand that?
As of right now, we're not seeing that yet, but I will never sit here and say we're completely defensible. I don't think anyone can say that. But one thing that's really evident when I'm talking to hiring managers and founders, they can suss out BS immediately. Like we actually had a case where someone was like almost reading a script or like sounded like a clone almost. And so I thought that was fascinating to discover. But in about 5 seconds, they were able to suss. I was like, oh yeah, this is clearly a clone, like or GPT or something. This is not it. And so we've definitely going to be seeing that. And as this new world of AI starting to boom, it actually plays a bit. Rafa actually plays a bigger role in this world that's being created because with OpenAI, with GPT, Claude, I don't know which model is about to get released, intelligence is going to be taken advantage of, and anyone can pass a coding interview. My dad could be the next Picasso. So what really begs the question is what makes you unique, right? And so in the past, in the 90s and 80s and beyond, you know, engineers are a dime a dozen, technical folks are a dime a dozen. But now we're in a place where almost anyone could create a GPT app or this and that. So I think the origin story is becoming the actual diamond and golden nugget that people are going to be focused on for years to come.
And you tell us a little bit about a client. You said clients are currently using at the moment. How's it going so far in terms of success rate?
Yeah. So our ICP and a lot of our startups, the companies that have been using have been startups. So we've seen companies like GitHub, like small teams that are like looking to expand their teams in certain geos around the US. We've had enterprise, Series A, B, and C companies. Most recently, about I'd say 70% of our user base are like in that C to Series A. And they're oftentimes looking to hire 1 to maybe 5+ roles and kind of manage their pools from there on out. And one other cool insight that we've been learning from since launching is the resume gets about 5% clicks in the ATS. And funny enough, in other worlds, that is probably the first thing you click on, right? So we're seeing that the resume is not holding that much value as much because people are clear on who this person is, but like being able to hear them and watch them sell themselves directly to the HM and recruiter is outweighing, the benefit of the resume of like how people would traditionally do it, if that makes sense.
So just to clarify then, so the 5% is the resume. You say 95% is on the audio. That's where a lot of the recruiters are spending time.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And yeah, go on.
No, please.
No, so with your background as well, you've set up probably a high bar. Consider you're a designer from a background. User experience probably is something that is important to you as well.
Oh yeah.
And we've always, Chris and I've always spoken about maybe in the past, but there's a lack of good UX or even design as well within the ATS market. So we're expecting big things as well from you, Masoud.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think you have my word that I will make sure this is the best experience possible for both sides, and as well as the applicant, hiring managers like yourself. It's definitely always top of mind because first impression is the key. Got to make sure that front door is well decorated.
Yeah. Also, when you've come from you're obviously the design, you're also being the hiring manager. You see it from the applicant point of view. What other pain points have you noticed within the recruitment industry that you along the way?
Oh, one of the biggest one is calibration and collaboration. It's probably like a make or break moment. So right now in the world today, when recruiters are looking to pick up a new role, and I've been part of this too, hiring managers, the technical folks are in a meeting for about an hour to talk about, as much technical roles they can get when it comes to the technicalities in the day to day. And in those meetings, it costs about, 10, 15, 20K, depending on how many people and their roles and their salaries and stuff like that. And the sample profiling process takes weeks to really knock out. So what's cool, what I've been seeing with a lot of our customers and recruiters is that when they send out sample profiles within Rapha in the pipeline, they can listen to see if they're right on the mark versus looking at face value. Because what matters is not face value, it's the context. And so the calibration part and the collaboration part with HMs and founders is critical because sometimes you have HMs in the Maldives, they're busy doing their thing and they can only do one thing at a time almost. And so what's cool is everything's done async. And so all the people that need to be part of the process have access and they could go at their speed with respect to the candidate's time as well.
It's interesting because you're
Chris, did you have a question, or you?
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm back.
So yeah, I can't tell. Sometimes you're it's fixed, but you go. Your internet's back.
There's it's interesting that you're covering kind of two parts, right? You're stepping a toe into screening by getting people to do a little bit of extra work up front on you. So it's
It's
super clever. You're like kind of trying to look at the application and the application and the initial screen in one hit rather than in two steps, weeks apart, which I think super smart. Way of approaching it. I'm with you on that. Do you find any challenges?
So at first, it's a bit of a when I was actually first going out to market, recruiters thought, well, it all depends on who you're talking to. But in the beginning, people thought like, oh, this is scary. What about the phone screen? And what's cool is once they actually dip their toes, they're realizing, oh, I'm actually able to create questions that allow me to get enough color to pick up where they left off. And then there's some recruiters when I'm speaking with them, the reception is, wait, we can just skip the first call completely. What matters is the hire, no matter how we get it, right? I'm still going to get the goals. I'm still going to get the credit for it, but that's what matters at the end of the day. And so it was a bit of a behavior shift as well as applicants. Let's not forget the applicant. The reception from them was astounding. I have VPs of engineering respond to me, reaching out to me that I never met before, saying that was by far the best process I've ever had at step one. so I thought that was such a unique data point because people love talking about themselves. They know themselves better than anyone else. So why not give them the opportunity to prove that? And so that's what's been really cool for both the recruiting side, who's going to be using this on a day-to-day basis, but also applicants who's going to be going through it as well. So it's been pretty cool for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think the when you just get the CV and you get lots of applications, you just need that extra level. You need that additional quality there as well. So you provide that, I think last week or 2 weeks ago we talked about cross-selling candidates. So when you get a really good candidate and you want to forward on to another manager, here you're saying is I don't just have to forward on the resume, but here's a little soundbite about the individual, what they are, and so you can hear it.
Right, 8 minutes. So appreciate you, Chris. But exactly, and I will touch on the last part is especially when you're getting into a new role or an existing role and you want to go off previous hires, you can listen to the person that got hired versus this what kind of resume it looks like, right? And so there's a lot of pros on like how you want to leverage it.
So Masoud, at the end of each show, we ask the same set of questions to everybody, and they start with what's next for Rafa. So you can give us a little snippet of what might be coming next.
Yeah, so we've been working on leveraging AI a ton. And so one thing that we've been working on is every job applications that is getting created right now in Rafa is a recruiter that's actually behind the scenes. So we're not only going to be vetting the applicant for the existing role, but not like in a way that you've been seeing like the myths of like auto reject and like AI is going to reject this person. We believe that there's a home for every single applicant. Everyone deserves a job. There's a job for everybody. But what's cool is, hey, even if you got into the process, we're also going to be vetting out to see if there's another role that might be a good fit for you across the pond. And so right now we have about 500 jobs posted right now. We have about 3,000, 4,000 applicants that have applied across them, 14,000 views per month on all of these jobs. And that is kind of one tidbit of what we're doing on like helping people get their dream job, right? Leveraging AI versus AI being used to cancel them. And then on the hiring team side, transcriptions, summaries of the profiles in a way of not summarizing if they're the good fit, but more so summarizing the context and allowing you as a person, as that hiring manager, to take the wheel. And another tidbit that we're working on, and this may be a couple months away, is we'll eventually get to open up our marketplace of and try to be almost a new LinkedIn, where you're now able to source on top of Rafa through NLP keywords, but also through transcriptions and phrases. So, for example, have you guys ever had a song that was stuck in your head? You knew the lyrics, but you forgot who sang it. We're doing the same exact thing. With Rafa, you're now able to actually source through emotions and passions and phrases to find the exact type of people you're looking for. So our vision is trying to find your next teammate as easy as buying milk from the grocery store. And so by doing this, we're going to be inviting more people to source on top of Rafa, applicants to be part of the community, and people posting their jobs on Rafa as well. And so that's kind of like the roadmap or the vision of where we're going, but starting on that candidate experience as well as bringing that forward on the hiring teams.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, there's so much there on the fact that you're taking the audio as well. Means that you can actually search for more information on there, which is great, super interesting.
Great work.
Yeah, you're leveraging that perfectly.
It's all in one.
Yeah,
which is interesting. It's all in one place as well. Like we're currently half the things you speak about in Rapha, we're using 5 or 6 different tools.
Exactly. But yes, we could. Yeah, I don't want to take more of the time, but yeah.
Well, look, our final question before how can people get in touch with you?
Yes,
is a pipeline question for TA Tech Unboxed. What other tools in the space are you finding super impressive at the minute? Like what tools are you using? Give us 2 or 3.
So
on ATSs, I assume.
Yeah, of course. As I live and die by my calendar, and I think most people do, depending on the profession. So VimCal, I might be a little biased. VimCal is almost like a superhuman calendar. They just released like a bunch of new tools to help EAs. So calendaring and managing time is essential, and I think VimCal is one of them. Another tool that actually recently jumped into Limitless.ai. They were formerly known as Rewind. It's basically being able to keep track of the context, and context, time, they're both related. So Limitless is almost like a little hardware thing that kind of sits on top of your clothing. It's more of the work use case and just summarizes action items and things like that in a nice centralized way. So shouts out to that team over there. And
based
the
on
other
based
tool,
on the Bradley Cooper movie.
yeah, I know, right? It makes sense. But yeah, I think those two, and as you can see, the theme has been time saving, context, of like what I enjoy most is like just getting time back, especially with having two beautiful babies, and like time is valuable, and so like just trying to find ways to save is always great.
Am I right in thinking Limitless has got like a wearable app as well?
Yeah, they just released it actually last week, I think, and I just put them on order in. Hey, this is not financial advice or like don't do it. Feel free to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
But I like it because they're really targeting context switchers, so people that are in and out of different things, from family life to work to back to work, different meetings. You're in a part of so many different things. So I felt like, it makes sense. I used the app Rewind first and I fell in love with it. I thought it was really great, just summarizing context of like how the meeting went, just like that, the tone. So I thought it was pretty cool. And
Yeah,
so that, yeah, so VimCal for calendar and Limitless for, having great memory.
brilliant.
Excellent. Final question before we say goodbye. How can folks reach out to you, get a demo? What's the play?
Yes, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Masoud Ardestani. The link is if you know, you know. Then you can also find me on Twitter or X, Masoud by Design. Email is Masoud at withrafa.com. Feel free to reach out. 7 days a week, 365 day or night. You say jump, I say how high. So I'm happy to make myself available.
Brilliant.
True story as well.
Yes.
True story as well. Well, look, that brings us to the end of this week's show. Thanks so much for joining us, Masoud. It's been great fun. Of course, we wish you the best of luck with Rafa. We're fans.
Thank you.
Can't wait to check out your demo as well. Don't forget, everybody, if you're listening to this, there will be a demo at the end of this show, a little pop-up thing. It'll be in the comments. It'll be in the feed. It'll be everywhere. So don't forget to check that out. But that's it for this week, sadly. For everyone, thanks, Masoud, again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Masoud.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, everybody.
And that's TA Tech Unbox signing off. Thanks, guys.